Have you ever heard of a rivalry so intense it shaped the course of history? A clash of titans that decided the fate of empires? Today, we're diving into one of the greatest military showdowns of all time, centered on one man, Publius Cornelius Scipio, better known as Scipio Africanus. He's the Roman general who did the impossible. He defeated Hannibal. But who was this man? Was he just lucky, or was he a military genius on par with his legendary rival? To understand Scipio, we have to go back to a time when Rome was on its knees. The Second Punic War was raging, and the Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca was a nightmare haunting the Italian peninsula. He had crossed the Alps with his war elephants, a feat that was considered unimaginable and had handed Rome one devastating defeat after another. The battles of Trebia, Lake Trasimene, and especially Cannae were catastrophic. At Cannae, Hannibal's smaller army encircled and annihilated a much larger Roman force. It was a tactical masterpiece that is still studied in military academies today. Rome was in a state of panic. Its allies were defecting, and its very survival was in question. This is the world Scipio was born into. His father and uncle were both respected Roman generals, and from a young age, Scipio was destined for a military life. In fact, he was present at some of these crushing defeats. Imagine being a teenager and witnessing the slaughter of your countrymen at the Battle of Cannae, seeing the fear in the eyes of seasoned soldiers. For most, this would have been a traumatic, spirit-breaking experience. But for Scipio, it was a harsh but invaluable education. He wasn't just watching, he was learning. He studied Hannibal's tactics, his audacious maneuvers, his ability to exploit his enemy's weaknesses. He saw firsthand what made Hannibal so brilliant, and more importantly, where Rome was going wrong. The Roman strategy at the time was to confront Hannibal directly in Italy, a tactic that had proven disastrous. They were playing Hannibal's game on Hannibal's terms. After both his father and uncle were killed in battle in Hispania, modern-day Spain, the situation looked bleak. Rome needed a new commander to take charge of the Spanish front, a crucial source of silver and manpower for Carthage. It was a high-risk, almost suicidal mission. Who would volunteer? In a stunning display of confidence, a 25-year-old Scipio stepped forward. He wasn't even legally old enough to hold the position, but his charisma and the legacy of his family convinced the Senate to take a chance on him. This is where Scipio's genius really begins to shine. Arriving in Spain, he didn't just rally the broken Roman forces. He transformed them. He understood that to beat Hannibal, he had to think like Hannibal. He needed to be bold, unpredictable, and creative. His first major move was a masterstroke of strategic brilliance. Instead of attacking the main Carthaginian armies scattered across Spain, he targeted their heart, the city of New Carthage, or Carthago Nova. This city was the main supply base, treasury, and political center for the Carthaginians in Spain. It was considered impregnable. Scipio gathered intelligence. He learned from local fishermen that the lagoon protecting one side of the city was shallow, and that the tide went out in the evening. While launching a massive diversionary attack on the main gates, he sent a small, elite force to wade through the lagoon and scale the unguarded walls. The plan worked perfectly. The city fell in a single day. With one audacious move, Scipio captured vast stores of supplies, weapons, silver, and even the Spanish hostages the Carthaginians were holding to ensure the loyalty of local tribes. He treated these hostages with respect and kindness, winning over many Spanish tribes to the Roman side. This wasn't just a military victory. It was a massive psychological and political blow to Carthage. Over the next few years, Scipio systematically dismantled Carthaginian power in Spain. His crowning achievement there was the Battle of Ilipa. Here, he faced a massive Carthaginian army led by Hannibal's brother, Hasdrubal Gisco. Outnumbered, Scipio used a brilliant and complex maneuver known as a reverse Cannae. Remember the Battle of Cannae where Hannibal's weak center drew the Romans in while his strong flanks enveloped them? Scipio did the opposite. For several days, he arranged his troops in a standard formation with his best Roman legions in the center and his less reliable Spanish allies on the flanks. The Carthaginians mirrored this. But on the day of the battle, Scipio secretly changed his formation at dawn. He placed his Spanish allies in the center and moved his elite Roman legions to the flanks. He then attacked early, catching the enemy off guard. His strong flanks crushed the weaker Carthaginian wings, and then his legions turned inward, enveloping and destroying the Carthaginian center. It was a complete and total victory. Spain was secured for Rome. With Spain conquered, Scipio returned to Rome a hero. But he knew the war wasn't over. Hannibal was still in Italy, a constant threat. Scipio proposed a radical, incredibly risky plan: take the war to Africa, invade Carthage's homeland. This was hugely controversial. Many in the Senate, led by the conservative Fabius Maximus, argued it was too dangerous. They wanted to stick to the cautious strategy of containing Hannibal in Italy. They saw Scipio as young, reckless, and overly ambitious. But Scipio's popular support was overwhelming, and he was eventually given permission to raise a volunteer army and invade Africa. Landing in North Africa, Scipio once again proved his strategic prowess. He formed an alliance with a Numidian prince, Massinissa, an expert horseman who had a personal grudge against Carthage. This gave Scipio the superior cavalry he desperately needed, something Rome had lacked throughout the war. He won a series of victories, forcing the Carthaginian Senate to do the one thing they had resisted for over a decade: recall Hannibal from Italy to defend the homeland. And so the stage was set for the final epic confrontation. The Battle of Zama in 202 BC, two of the greatest generals in history were about to face off. Hannibal had his seasoned veterans from the Italian campaign, plus a terrifying force of 80 war elephants. Scipio had his battle-hardened legions from Spain and his new superior Numidian cavalry under Massinissa. Hannibal planned to use his elephants to charge and break the Roman lines, just as they had done so many times before. But Scipio had a plan. He had studied the elephants. He knew they tended to charge in a straight line. Instead of forming his infantry into the usual solid checkerboard pattern, he arranged them in columns with wide lanes running through them. When the elephants charged, the Roman skirmishers would funnel them down these lanes. The horns and trumpets would blare, scaring the animals, and they would run harmlessly through the gaps to the rear of the army, where they could be dealt with. The plan worked to perfection. The elephant charge was neutralized. Some elephants even panicked and charged back into Hannibal's own lines, causing chaos. With the elephants out of the way, the infantry battle began. It was a brutal, grinding fight between two of the best infantries in the world. For a while, it seemed like Hannibal's veterans might gain the upper hand. But this is where Scipio's second masterstroke came into play. On the flanks, Scipio's and Massinissa's cavalry had quickly defeated the weaker Carthaginian horsemen. Instead of pursuing them off the battlefield, a common mistake in ancient warfare, they regrouped and charged into the rear of Hannibal's infantry. It was canny in reverse again. Hannibal's army was now trapped, attacked from the front by Scipio's legions and from the rear by his cavalry. The encirclement was complete. The Carthaginian army was shattered. Hannibal himself barely escaped. The battle was a decisive Roman victory, and it ended the Second Punic War. Scipio returned to Rome in triumph and was given the honorary name Africanus in recognition of his conquest. He had saved Rome. He had studied his enemy, adapted his tactics, and ultimately used Hannibal's own strategies against him to achieve victory. He was more than just a great general. He was an innovator who wasn't afraid to take calculated risks. His campaigns in Spain and Africa show a level of strategic planning and logistical genius that was truly ahead of its time. So, when we remember the epic struggle between Rome and Carthage, let's not just remember the fearsome Hannibal. Let's also remember the young man who studied his enemy's brilliance, who dared to take the fight to Africa, and who, at the Battle of Zama, finally outsmarted the master. Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus, the man who defeated Hannibal and secured the future of the Roman Republic. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into military history, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories of legendary commanders. Let me know in the comments who you'd like to see covered next.